Hi, I'm Daniel Fisher here at Sweetwater Sound, and today I'm just blown away to get to show you the Roland AIRA S-1. What an amazing little box this is. First of all, it's battery powered. It has internal lithium-ion batteries. It has a charging light up front. You can charge it with USB. It has USB-C on the back. It's a synthesizer. It's based off the SH-101. It's done in Roland's ACB modeling. And instead of being a monophonic synth like the 101, this actually has 4 notes of polyphony. The 4 notes of polyphony can be used as just 4 notes that you play, or it can be mono mode, or it can be in unison mode where all 4 oscillators are gained together, and that's super fat. And it can also be in a chord mode. On top of that, though, it has an arpeggiator and a really complex sequencer where you can have up to 64 steps. And each of those steps can have 4 notes, but on top of that, they can also have 8 parameter values. And what's really crazy is it doesn't have to be the same parameters for each step. As long as there's only 8, you can have whichever 8 you want per step, which means lots of stuff is changing over time. Finally, you also saw that it has motion sensing in both what they're calling pitch and roll, and that can be assigned to a lot of different parameters. Right there, you were hearing me doing resonance and some reverb. Crazy stuff. And then all of it stores internally. You can also USB it to your computer. You can drag and drop songs from there. You can grab songs from there. And what they're calling each of these is a pattern. And a pattern not only consists of the sequence steps plus all of the motion knobs that you've done for each of the steps, it also contains the preset or the settings for all the synthesizer parts. So now let's just dive in a little bit. And there's so much to talk about. Today, all I'm going to do is try and make you want it, because as soon as you see it, you're going to want to go out and grab it before everybody else grabs them, and you have to wait for the second round to show up, because it's just that much fun. And you could perform with this thing just with a pair of headphones. You don't need anything else. Why? Because there's a keyboard that's just a little bit over 2 octaves on here, but it also takes MIDI in. So just to help explain the synthesizer parts, now I'm going to add a controller. Ta-da! So now I have the Roland A49 keyboard controller, and I have a MIDI cable that has 5-pin DIN on one side and the TRS 3.5 millimeter on the other end. I'm going into the MIDI in. Couple points. One, this runs on MIDI channel 3. Why? Because this can work with the other AIRA products, and so they want to keep the MIDI channels separate. But just something to know, it'll drive you crazy if you plug in MIDI and it doesn't work. The other thing is, if you do have an A49 and you want to run the A49 not into a computer but like into a USB power bank, first go to the computer and do the tricks in the manual that shows you how to set it to the generic driver. And then, and here's the tricky part, when you power up, you're going to need to hold pitch, assign, and function, and then power up. And now it runs in a standalone mode that doesn't need a computer, any drivers, or anything like that. But then you play it and it doesn't make any sound. Why? Because I told you it's on MIDI channel 3. So function, MIDI channel 3, you should play. There it is. Okay, so I'm starting with an init, and I'm going to explain this now kind of as a synthesizer guy instead of as a groove box guy, because I am not that. Here we go. It's a 1 oscillator synth. The thing that's really cool is that you have square wave, which can be pulse, which can also be modulated, so pulse with modulation. It has a sawtooth. It has a sub that can be an octave down or 2 octaves down. It's got noise that can be white noise or pink noise. But the really cool thing is all of those can be on at the same time at different mix levels. So there's a lot of potential there for different tonalities. I'll just do each of them real quick. So there's square wave. There's saw. Here's the sub against the saw. And then the noise. But there's so much more than that. What makes the sound design possibilities just unlimited is that above and beyond those standard wave shapes, you can draw your own wave shapes. Well, how do you do that? Well, you hold shift, you press draw, And now I have it set to form for waveform. And then I'm going to hold shift and turn this knob and set it to step. So what that's saying is I'm going to incrementally step the different waveform values, the levels for all 16 steps. I can also do slopes where it smoothly interpolates between them. Right now I'm going to do steps so it's a little more obvious. So now with that on, I can now hit any one of these 16 and turn up or down their volumes. I'm going to hit the whole button. I'm going to play a chord. I won't be able to talk after this, but I'm going to just be adjusting the levels for each of the steps of the waveforms. So many more possibilities with that. But then you can multiply. And in other words, if I had a single triangle, it would then all of a sudden have a double triangle. And it's easier to hear than explain. But now I'm going to change the multiply. It'd be fun to hear that through some delay, so I'm going to turn the delay up. Another thing you can do to the wave is chop, and this one's cool because you can do it to all of the waves, and each of the waves you can do it independently. And the way I understand chop is I'm going to do shift, hit chop, and I've set it to sawtooth. And what that's going to let me do is turn on or off each of 16 steps throughout that wave shape. And it's going to make it, for lack of a better word, it's going to make all the waves more thin, more pulsy, right? So here's a standard saw. Now listen as I turn off and on each of the different pieces of this waveform. And I'm going to turn an arpeggiator on just so we have something going that you can hear. And to do that, I do shift, arpeggiation on. And the arpeggiation type is going to be, we'll do random, just to keep it interesting. And we'll do random 2 octaves. And let's see how that works. So just a little taste of the sonic possibilities. And again, that can be done with each of the oscillators. So for example, if I turn that off, turn the sub up, but now change it from the saw position to the sub, I'm going to do the same thing to the sub. And now I'll mix that with the saw, which already has its own chop. And this is probably a good time to tell you about chorus. And I get to chorus by holding shift, hitting the menu, and I scroll till I get to chorus. There it is. And now I have 4 different types to choose from. Currently off, and I'm going to scroll through all 4 with it going here. So we'll go ahead and get the arpeggiator going again. And just to show you what that sounds like with a little bit of reverb and delay. And then I mentioned you have noise. There's two kinds of noise. There's white and pink. Here's white. And if you hold the shift and turn the noise knob, it changes from white to pink. So here's pink, much more low end. I always say the difference between white noise and pink noise is being on top of the water at the bottom of a waterfall or being under the water at the bottom of a waterfall. Pink being the under the water, white being above the water. And now that I have white noise up, it's a good time to show you the filter. So I'm going to turn the envelope off, the LFO off, the resonance off, and I'm just going to sweep the 4-pole low-pass filter with no resonance. And as you can hear, it's very smooth. There's no steps. Now I'll turn up the resonance some. More. And then the LFO, which can be assigned to the pitch of the oscillator, the cutoff frequency of the filter, or the pulse width modulation, has many different shapes. It has sawtooth up, sawtooth down, triangle, square, random, and noise. And those can be applied. And again, anything you do with those LFO knobs, whether it's the rate or the depth or the shape, all of that is recorded into the sequences as well. And now before I leave the oscillator, I want to go ahead and bring them all up, make some really fat sound, and then show you what it sounds like when I go into unison mode. So we'll start with some square, add some saw, add some sub, and now I'm going to add some pulse width modulation. I'm still on only one voice. But so far, you've only heard one oscillator. Now I'm going to gang those up in unison. To do that, I hold Shift, hit the poly, and change it from poly to unison. Everything's the same, but now I'm in unison. Okay, I got rid of the keyboard because I want to show you that the keyboard on here, like I said, it's just a little bit over 2 octaves, has all the white keys and the black keys, and it's perfectly playable. So I'll do a little bit with that. So not super hard to play, but probably I wouldn't use it for real-time performance, but it's really easy to use when you're doing step recording or real-time recording if you slow it down a little bit. And although there's so much more to talk about, I don't fully understand it myself yet. There's just so much to learn. The beauty of it is that right off the bat, as soon as you turn it on, you can start playing it. And as you go, oh, I really want to do this, you just learn the button push to do it and then add that to your arsenal. But right now, I want to just show you some sequences that were made just to show this thing off. And I added some demotion to that. Again, that's pitch and roll. And each of those can be assigned to a different parameter. So we'll start out with a sequence here. And to do that, I'm just going to hold pattern. I'm going to go to bank 3. I'm going to go to number 1 in bank 3 and hit play. And another pattern, this one is using the resonance at full in the filter to create sine waves. All right, well, that's just way too much fun for a single box that's self-powered, that has its own headphone out, MIDI in and out, lots of oscillators. You can draw your own oscillators, the way you can chop up oscillators, the way you can add all the effects, and you can add sends to the effects per note at any amount that you want, with up to 8 values changing per step, 64 steps. You can also change the range of the steps. I could go on and on, but I won't this time. I'm going to show this to some of my other content creator friends, and we'll do a much longer video after that. If you have any questions about the Roland AIRA series or any of the Roland products, please contact your Sweetwater sales engineer. My name is Daniel Fisher. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks again for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. For more videos like this, click here or go to sweetwater.com for all your music instrument and pro audio needs.